Archie, lots of people are feeling insecure about Social Security.
Well, Rob, let's plan for it. I'm Archie Hoxton.
And I'm Rob Hoxton.
And this is Last Paycheck, weekly wisdom to help you retire and stay that way. Welcome back to the Last Paycheck Podcast. We're your hosts, Archie Hoxton and Rob Hoxton. And today we're going to be talking about a very important topic and a very hot topic, and that's Social Security and whether it's a sustainable program into the future. We get this question all the time from our clients, from friends. You hear it on the news. Even there was an article from a political pundit recently commenting on this. It's a big topic because just last year, in 2023, the Social Security Board of Trustees changed the projected depletion date of the Social Security Trust Fund. And so that got everybody talking about it. And so there's lots of fear around
Yeah, and
this.
it's just 9 years away.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, a lot of people my age, I'm closer to retirement, of course, than you are, or closer to retirement age. I'm not retiring anytime soon, but it's really something that younger people should be more concerned about probably than older. I mean, typically we would expect that any changes that happen to the benefit program happen and they affect those people who aren't as close to retirement, and
Right.
who have some time to plan.
Right. Which is, on one hand, it's a good thing. On the other hand, it's kind of a worrisome thing for younger people who are trying to just get started on retirement and get ahead. But
So the Social Security system is really a couple of different things. It's the old age and survivors income program, OASI.
right.
And then there's a disability income program as well, and they each have their own trust fund. The disability part of it is in worse shape actually
Yeah.
than the Social Security income part.
Right.
And because of the way that the laws are written, when those trust funds are depleted, the Social Security Administration can't just ask the government to send more tax money over to them. It has to be like planned in advance.
Yeah.
And because of all the actuarial stuff that goes on, we can see that the trajectory is not a positive one.
Right. Yeah.
But it's not the first time we've been here, is it?
It's not. And that's something that is a really interesting fact that I didn't know until we started really diving into this. But we were there, and there were a couple of really important sessions in 1977 and 1983 to sort of rework the system because it was imminent depletion of the trust.
Yeah, in 1983, they'd actually depleted it.
Yeah. And so that's interesting.
So there was emergency legislation that had to be enacted.
Right. Because once it's depleted, right, all you have is the tax revenue that is currently collected and earmarked for Social Security benefits and the trust fund. And so when the trust fund's gone, you've got the tax revenue. And so there's naturally, if you've been eating into the trust fund, there's going to be a shortfall. And so benefits are going to drop unless we do something to rework the system and find new funding, rework the way we calculate benefits. And we'll talk about, what options may be used to prevent a reduction in benefits in 2033 and 4.
The taxes generated for like 20 years, the 90s and the 10s, were more than enough to pay the cost of the benefits that were being paid out. But there are like 57 million Americans receiving retirement benefits from Social Security, and the vast majority of them, that's their primary source of retirement income, which is a scary thought.
Yeah.
Because it's not a living wage.
It was never actually intended to be
Right.
a primary source. It was intended to be a supplemental source of retirement income. But that's right now we're in a really big and important demographic shift where, you had the baby boomer generation, and they are all
That's like-
retiring and
that's
starting
like
to receive.
That's like the pig and the python, right? It's just working its way from the head to the tail.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's an
I'm
interesting.
I'm 2 months outside of being a baby boomer. I'm not a baby boomer by 2 months.
Yeah, yeah. So you're right after the pig, but yeah, that's an interesting image. But right now we're very much in that pig is in Social Security age, receiving benefits, and so the number of people receiving benefits is massive and growing all the time. But right after the baby boom, there was a drop in the birth rate.
Yeah, like fertility rates dropped, and the way that these reports refer to it is it's not that people were less fertile necessarily, but they were just having fewer children.
Yeah.
And this is true throughout the Western developed world,
Right.
is that you had this massive baby boom generation, and then right behind it, you had this big drop, like 33% drop in the population in the next generation.
Right.
And my generation, which is much smaller, so there aren't as many people paying taxes to support Social Security.
Right. And so it's a natural, conclusion that if you've got a ton of people receiving benefits and then a smaller number of people paying in for those benefits, you're going to have to tap into the reserves. And so that's what's happening. And as of now, it's like we said, it's expected to deplete the reserves.
So Archie, I know the way that taxes are collected, you have a portion of payroll that's paid by the employer, half of it's paid by the employer, half of it's paid through payroll withholding by the employee. And then the third leg of that stool is tax revenue that's received by people who pay taxes on the benefit in retirement when it's received.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like 12.2% or something by the combined between the employer and 12.4. Okay.
Yeah. 6.2 for each employee and employer, and that those contributions together are 12.4%.
Yeah.
However, it's limited. So as the employee, if you earn more than, I think it's $168,600, over any amount that you earn over and above that is not taxed for Social Security. It's taxed for federal income and
Medicare tax.
And but so there's an income cap for Social Security taxes. And so, when we talk about funding, once the trust fund is depleted, the taxes that are collected there will cover, according to last year's trustee report, will cover about 77% of the total cost of providing the benefits to the beneficiaries.
Can I throw something out real quick?
Yeah.
So I don't think that any of us need to worry or think that there's not going to be a Social Security benefit in the future. I mean, you think about the most active voting bloc in this country. It is people who are either close to retirement or are retired.
Yeah.
Especially those who are retired. They cannot wait to vote. I mean, that's something to do that day. They cannot wait. That's 2 days in an election year, right?
Well, and they are retired, so they don't have what happens to Social Security and to these government programs
is way important to them.
Exactly. So it's important to vote.
So it's going to be around, but things are going to have to change. There's no doubt about it. So let's talk about what some of those things could be, that some of the changes.
Yeah, I think the most clear and obvious change is that the shortfall will have to be made up by receiving more taxes. The tax revenue will have to be higher. I think that is one that's pretty clear.
So payroll taxes.
Payroll taxes will probably go up. So if it's 12.4% between employer and employee now, it's hard to say exactly how much that would go up, but it may increase by 1% or 2%.
The 2010 report actually said that it would either it would have to increase by 2% combined, or benefits would have to be cut by 13%, one or the other. That's 14 years ago. I'm not sure what the projections are now, but I bet there's going to be a combination of higher taxes And it could be through payroll taxes. It could be the rate at which your benefit is taxed. Because right now, the most that can be taxed is 85% of your benefit.
Yeah, when you're retired and receiving
When you're retired and you're receiving it. Now, it's not an 85% tax. It's just your tax rate on 85% of the benefit.
Yeah, if you get $1,000 a month, $850 is what they use to calculate the tax that you owe.
If you have a 20% tax bracket or tax rate, it's 20% on $850. Right.
170.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's how that.
So that could be
piece
increased.
works. That could go, because that's been increased over time, and that could go to 100%. If you have other retirement income that bumps you into a higher threshold, maybe that's your Social Security benefit is 100% taxable.
Another thing that could happen is they could increase full retirement age.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's age 67. At one time, it was 65.
Yeah, that was the original.
And they keep stepping it up. They could continue to do that. For you, they could say it's going to be 68 or 67 in 6 months or something.
Could be. And then it could eventually move to 70. I mean, it's impossible to know that, and that would be a pretty drastic measure. Another thing they might consider doing is increasing the penalty for taking it early. So right now, if your core primary benefit is the benefit that you would get at your full retirement age. Mm-hmm. If you take it early, which you can take it as early as 62, it's reduced, and it works out to roughly 8% per year. So that could go up. They could say, all right, well, it's going to be more like 10% reduction every year. So that way they're disincentivizing people from taking it earlier.
Yeah.
And having them take it on schedule. That makes it a little bit more predictable. They could also increase the income tax, the income limitation. So if it's $168,600 right now, if you earn more than that, and if you do, you may notice partway through the year, your paycheck goes up, right? Once you've hit your maximum that you can pay into Social Security, those taxes that you would have paid are left in your paycheck.
Yeah. This is an incredibly popular thing, proposal. I don't even know if it's a proposal, but if you think about it, if you are a higher wage earner and you make as a household over 168, which isn't, in urban areas, that's not living a rich lifestyle.
Certainly
right?
Not what it used to be.
So if they take the cap off and you pay that Social Security tax on the entirety of your income, but your benefit doesn't go up, you're paying more, but your benefit doesn't go up, that's not going to feel very good.
Right.
At all.
Yeah. And it's essentially be looked at as a sacrifice that you make for the good of the citizenry.
That's never gone over very well in the good old US of A, though, has it?
Not really. No.
See, these politicians are going to have to make hard decisions, and they don't do courageous things very well.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's tricky. Yeah, so I mean, there are ways to avert a reduction in benefits, and honestly, it is probably the full brunt of these changes is going to be felt most heavily by those who are earlier in their earning years. But the benefit of that is that you have more time to plan. I have a lot of younger clients who come to me and say, listen, I want to pretend that I'm not going to get Social Security. And I say, well, you're more than likely you probably will, but if you want to plan that way, that's a very conservative way to do it. You're not counting on it. And so whatever the changes are, it doesn't matter.
If you're planning 30 years out, like young, workers are, if they're planning, hopefully they are, most aren't, but if they're going to plan that far in advance, there are so many different things that can happen to so many aspects of their life, including Social Security benefits during the next 30, 40 years. But you got to plan. Yeah.
And that goes for everyone. I mean, I think that, if you're younger, you're like we said, you're going to feel that brunt and you can plan. But it's never too late to start planning if you haven't yet. So that's important too. So yeah, I mean, this, at the end of the day, this is not meant to be your primary retirement strategy. It was always meant to be a supplement. And so if you're planning well, whatever changes may come, you can build that into your financial plan.
I'm going to give you a piece of trivia. This is about Social Security. It actually came about during the Great Depression when they wanted to try to encourage older workers to retire to make room for younger workers who were unemployed. So they created this benefit to encourage people to retire. Now, the life expectancy of those people that when they retired wasn't that long.
Yeah.
So the impact on the fund wasn't as significant as a retiree would be in modern times. But there you have it. That's the reason.
That's interesting. Yeah, and it's a great program because some people retire out of they just want to retire and they're ready to sail off into the sunset. But sometimes people are forced to retire. And so Social Security becomes a really key benefit. So I think it's important to keep it alive and keep it going and keep it healthy. But if you're planning for retirement, make sure you have other means to support yourself.
Especially if you're a young person.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, anyway, that just about wraps it up for today. That's all the time we've got. So if you liked it, remember, hit the like button, leave us a comment with your thoughts or questions, share with your family and friends, and remember to subscribe, and we'll hope to see you next time. You've been watching Last Paycheck, weekly wisdom to help you retire and stay that way. If you like this show, be sure to hit like and subscribe. Last Paycheck is available anywhere you get your podcasts.